What's up guys, Surfinswork here, back with another Destiny 2 video. Today's video is going to be me going over the build that I use for contest mode on Root of Nightmares. Also, you're going to be able to use this in a lot of endgame content. I don't want to say all endgame content, depends on what weapon you're using. But again, this is all going to be based around hammers and syntheseps. Syntheseps are still incredibly strong, and I'm going to show you how to even make it even better, and you're going to get unlimited healing and unlimited orbs of power. Stay tuned for the entire build. The build will be in the dim link down below, and make sure you leave a like and consider subscribing for more content. Let's get straight into the build. So of course we're going to be using the solar subclass. The super ability that I like to use is going to be Burning Maul, pretty much because it gives high DPS. Other than that, you could go with Hammer of Soul if you want to do ad clear. But then looking back at it, your right click on Burning Maul is also incredibly good. Starting off with the abilities, for the class ability, I chose to use the Towering Barricade. Again, I was using this in contest mode and I wanted to be as safe as possible. For the movement ability, I chose Strafe Lift because it's the best movement ability for Titans. For the solar melee, I chose, of course, to use Throwing Hammer. This is what the whole build revolves around. You're going to be able to throw a hammer, get a kill with it, and then you're going to be able to get Cure, which is going to be able to heal you over and over again. Also, when we go down with the mods a little bit later on, you're going to be able to see that every single hammer or normal melee kill, we get an orb of power. Every single one. Then for the grenade, I chose to use healing grenades because again, I was using this in contest mode, end game difficulty, so I wanted to heal myself as much as possible. I wasn't really worried about getting those grenade kills at that time. But if you want to put a grenade on, be my guest. Going on to the aspects now, we're going to be choosing Roaring Flames, which every final blow with solar abilities or ignitions increases the damage of your solar abilities, stacks 3 times. So once you get times 3 Roaring Flames, you're going to be able to do massive damage with your hammer, of course with syntheseps as well. And then from there, we're going to be choosing Soul Invictus, solar ability final blows, Hammer of Soul impacts, defeating scorched targets creates sunspots. Your abilities regenerate faster and your super drains more slowly while standing in a sunspot. Sunspots apply Scorch and deal damage to targets inside. Entering a sunspot applies Restoration. This is going to be very huge. Every time you're going to kill somebody with a hammer, it's going to create a sunspot, which then standing in the sunspot creates Restoration. You're going to be healing a lot of different ways from this build. Now moving on to the fragments. The first fragment I chose to use was going to be Ember of Mercy. When you revive an ally, you and your other nearby allies gain Restoration, and picking up a fire sprite grants Restoration. You also get plus 10 resilience from this, which is pretty nice. But the main thing here is picking up a fire sprite grants Restoration. We're going to be trying to get Restoration as much as possible, and that's a little bit of a backup way to do this. Next we have Ember of Torches. Powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant. Minus 10 discipline, which kind of stinks, but powered melee attacks. We're going to be using the hammer 85% of the time. We're going to be using it so much that we're going to be pretty much always radiant, so we're always going to be getting damage boosts and healing boosts from that. Then of course we have Ember of Solace. Radiant and Restoration effects applied have an increased duration. Increased duration basically just means that it gives us a little bit more uptime to be able to get our next hammer kill. It kind of depends on the density of the ads, but this is also a very important fragment. And then lastly, Ember of Ashes. You apply more scorch stacks to your targets. So if you're smacking a harder enemy with your hammer, you're going to be able to apply those scorch stacks even faster, do more damage to them, and thus killing them faster. Also a side note, the hammer is actually pretty solid against bosses still. Just a reminder that the dim link will be down in the description, and if this helps you out, be sure to leave a like on the video. It helps me out tremendously. Now, of course, on to the stats. I'm going to make this short and sweet. I'm going to have tier 10 resilience. I'm going to have tier 10 discipline. I'm trying to get as powerful as possible, as tanky as possible, so resilience helps me out. And then for discipline, I'm trying to get my healing grenade back as fast as possible. That way, if I don't have a way to heal from Restoration, I can just throw the grenade at the ground and heal myself. If I had to choose a third one, I would say strength would be pretty important, just because sometimes, depending on how far I am, I overthrow my hammer, and then I have no hammer and no way to get Restoration. Now moving on to the artifacts mods that I use for this build. Of course, if you're watching this after season, what season are we in? If you're watching this after Season of Defiance, of course the artifact mods may change. However, I'm sure you're going to be able to find something that's going to be able to work with this. The artifact mods don't matter too much, but this is what I ended up using. Of course, I use Shatter Orbs. First time you break a combatant's shield, when it matches the damage type, you create an orb. Volatile Flow, which picking up an orb of power makes your void weapons volatile round. Yes, I am using a volatile SMG for this. Bricks from Beyond, which defeating a powerful combatant with a void weapon has a chance to generate heavy ammo for you and your teammates. This one's less important because I'm using the hammer most of the time, to be honest. And then Prismatic Transfer. When you cast your super, each member of your fire team with a subclass damage type different from yours gains a bonus to weapon damage. And this is going to be pretty big for the DPS rounds. It did help us out a lot in contest mode, I think, near the end. Now moving on to the armor mods. Of course, we're going to start with the head. I chose to use 3 hands-on mods. Gain bonus super energy on melee kills. That's it. Although, for harder content, you may want to use something like a special ammo finder, special ammo scout, heavy ammo finder, or heavy ammo scout. Kind of depends on what you're running and what kind of content you're doing. If you need that extra heavy ammo and it's a long boss fight, or you don't really need that heavy ammo and you're kind of just bonking people to death. Just kind of depends on what you're running, but I'm giving you a tiny bit of options here. Next up is for the arms. This is where we're using our exotic Synthoceps. Of course, the exotic perk here is going to be Biotech Enhancements, increase melee lunge range, improves melee and super damage when you're surrounded. So when you're surrounded by enemies and you're going to be meleeing people with your hammer, you're going to be doing even more damage. You're going to be able to, of course, one-shot every single red bar in the game. You're going to be able to even massacre champions. For the mods here, I chose to use Focusing Strike, grants class ability energy when you cause damage with your melee attack. Heavy-handed, your power and melee final blows create orbs of power. This is going to be the one thing that's going to be able to create orbs of power every single time you get a hammer kill. It's amazing. And then from there, we have Impact Induction. Causing damage with your melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. So all of these are obviously based down your melee attack. You getting your barricade back. Obviously, you're getting your health grenade back. And then creating orbs of power, which are going to be able to heal you and do other things here we're going to see down the line. But all in all, Synthoceps is still incredibly strong. Next up, of course, moving on to the chest. And this is also where I give you another big choice depending on whatever you're running. We have a lot of different options here. You're going to be able to run Harmonic Resistance, which reduces solar damage from combatants, Arc Resistance, Solar Resistance again. I don't know why you would do that instead of Harmonic, but Void Resistance, Stasis Resistance, and then of course Concussive Dampener. So that one reduces incoming area of effect damage from all combatants. I guess if you want, you can also add like melee damage and sniper damage resistance as well. There's a lot of options here. I personally just usually use like solar or arc or void depending on whatever encounter I'm running. But now we move on to the legs. First mod we have is the best mod in the game. Maybe. It's super high up there, I swear to God. Recuperation replenishes health each time you pick up an orb of power. Every time you get a kill with your hammer, you drop an orb of power. So if you're right in somebody's face, hammer them to death, you get the kill. Not only get restoration, but you also replenish health immediately with recuperation. It's incredibly strong. So during endgame content, you literally just need to go in somebody's face, hammer them to death, and then you get your full health back. Even if you're getting shot by like 5 enemies, you're going to be able to out heal them, no problem. And then after that, we have Innervation, which reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. So again, every time you get that hammer kill, pick up an orb, you're going to get your health grenade back even faster. And then for the last one, I chose to use Stacks on Stacks. Picking up an orb of power grants you +1 additional stack of armor charge. Now you can swap this out for something like Absolution, which reduces all ability cooldowns each time you pick up an orb of power. That's also not a bad one. I chose to use Stacks on Stacks because on the mark, I chose to use Special Finisher. This is because I was running Nezeract, I think, and I was using my Izzy a lot, so I was running out of special ammo very fast, so I chose to use Special Finisher. But if you're not running that, you have the option to run really almost anything else. I'd probably recommend Time Dilation here. And then for the next mod, we have Reaper, which after using a class ability, your next weapon final blow spawns an orb of power. Usually I use this to where if I threw my hammer away and I cannot get it back, I'll pop my barricade, get a kill, and get an orb of power. That's going to help me get my stuff back even faster. And then lastly, we have Font of Restoration, which just basically gives you bonus to recovery while you have any armor charge. Your armor charge now decays over time, so that would pair very nicely with Time Dilation. And the reason I chose this one is because when you get bonus recovery, you're going to get your health back even faster from restoration. And it just makes it a lot easier that if you're getting sniped and shot from everywhere, that you're going to be able to heal at a really quick pace. Now moving on to the weapons that I chose to use here. One of them is going to be incredibly strong. But before we get on that, let's start with the first weapon. Of course, Trusty Witherhoard never lets me down. I can throw it in one area and go to bonk enemies in the next area. And then after that, my secondary I chose to use is actually Funnel Web. I chose to use this over the Callus mini tool because the void weapon rounds and making your enemies volatile is pretty huge in this season, so I didn't want to miss out on that, especially on contest mode, which was a bit hard. Not as hard as other raids, but that's not a conversation for right now. And then realistically, the main gun that I ended up using in contest mode and endgame content is Retrofit Escapade. This is one of the best guns that I have used in a long time. It's incredibly fun. I've probably mentioned it in other videos, I'm sure, before. But Retrofit Escapade, really good. It's a void weapon. You can get volatile rounds with it. So if you throw your hammer away, this is what I'm usually whipping out. But all in all, I'm very glad that this build is back. I haven't really messed with Solar since Season of the Haunted. I did use Syntheseps a lot during then, but I'm glad they're back on me now. Being able to run up to anybody, hammer them, kill them, and then be able to heal off of them with recuperation and restoration and cure, and me having a healing grenade. This is a very good endgame content build. The only thing that I think could make this negative is if you're shooting a lot of enemies that are far range. But with that, to be honest, you just put on a scout rifle and you call it a day. I think everything else with this build is absolutely awesome. So definitely give this one a try. I'm going to be running this build probably a good portion of the season as well. I'm going to try it in GMs too. But remember, dim link is down in the description. If you liked the video, make sure you leave a like on the video. It helps me out tremendously. And consider subscribing for more Destiny 2 content. We're always pumping out content here. With that being said, enjoy your day, do your laundry, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.